Every year, 6 to 8 million animals enter shelters. And of those animals, 3 million of them are euthanized when their time runs out, even when most of them are perfectly healthy and adoptable. Across the world, animal rescues and shelters work endlessly, donating their time, money, and homes to save animals that come from all walks of life. Especially for smaller animal rescues, foster homes and volunteers are absolutely crucial to helping save, rehabilitate, and rehome these animals that deserve a second chance at life, happiness, and love. Our club and nonprofit Pawse is dedicated to educating our communities on the importance of animal rescue, fostering, and adoption.
In the past year, we've hosted an online webinar with Melody Chen, the founder of Dog Rescue Love and Second Chances, and we invited the leaders of the 2025 action team of the national organization Best Friends Animal Society to teach our community more about animal welfare and how to unite as a community to bring about change. During winter break of 2020, we organized a donation drive for the East County Animal Shelter in Dublin, California, and we held a bandana and sticker fundraiser for the Tri-Valley Animal Rescue in Pleasanton, California.
Our mission is to advocate animal rescue and adoption because pet adoption saves lives. Too many perfectly healthy and adoptable animals are euthanized every year in shelters when their time runs out. Many people may condemn these kill shelters for euthanizing animals, but the truth is that none of these shelters want to euthanize the animals. It is exactly these shelters that need more support and resources. There are a multitude of stigmas and misconceptions around rescue animals that prevent many from adopting. However, through Pawse, we hope to educate our community and encourage people to pause for a moment, do their research, and discover a whole animal rescue community out there. If we can inspire our community to work together and take a stand for animal adoption, the extent of what we can accomplish is unlimited.
Fostering a rescue animal in need of a home is a rewarding experience that not only saves one animal's life, but it also opens up resources for rescues and shelters to take in more animals, which helps relieve overcrowding in shelters. When you foster a pet, you're providing that animal with a temporary home and essentially preparing them, whether that be through training, rehabilitating, or socializing them, to be ready for adoption. Foster volunteers are absolutely crucial to the operation of foster-based rescues all around the world. Sometimes, all a pet needs is a warm and loving environment, away from the shelter cages, to completely open up and begin its journey to a life of happiness.
In order to show our appreciation for foster families and recognize their hard work, our club created a service project. For this, we've teamed up with Rescue the Underdog, which is a small volunteer-run organization in San Francisco that saves dogs from being euthanized in high-kill shelters. One of the things that stands out about them is their motto, a voice for the scared, old, and injured, which is a message that couldn't be more true, and something our club passionately stands for. So, over the past few weeks, our club members brainstormed how we could show our appreciation for these families at Rescue the Underdog, and we decided to make care packages. We fundraised and filled these with a variety of items, including handwritten thank you cards, homemade peanut butter dog treats, without xylitol of course, dog toys, poop bags, and so much more. But most importantly, we filled these care packages with hard work, love, and dedication, which is only fitting for the amount of love and dedication foster families put to take care of their dogs. So, to all the amazing foster families out there, thank you so much, and we hope you enjoy our care packages.
As part of this project, we've also interviewed a few foster families from Rescue the Underdog. We hope that by showcasing these fosters, we can shed more light on the importance of animal rescue, fostering, and adoption. These wonderful foster families talk about a variety of topics, ranging from their inspiration getting started with their foster journey to challenges they've overcome and how they deal with letting animals go once they've been adopted. We hope that you may find inspiration and an understanding of animal fostering from listening to their stories and experiences.
So I started out as a kennel attendant. So I was maintaining the facilities on Fridays through Sundays, and I would go in the morning and at night. So I'd go in twice a day, and I would monitor all of the animals, administer their medications, feed them, clean their cages, and give them lots of love and cuddles and play with them. What ended up happening was some of the animals that were really bad, like had really bad injuries or were really hanging on by a thread, my heart would break for them. And I finally had applied to become an official foster, and with my knowledge and background in the medical area, I was approved to start fostering the medical dogs. And I really just started because there was a dog that I just really thought wasn't going to make it through the weekend. And I thought, well, if I take the dog home, maybe that will give it some encouragement to want to keep going and encourage the dog to keep fighting and go forward. And that's kind of how it started. In fact, like not very long after that, I had 5 dogs in my apartment.
So I started a little over a year and a half ago. So I had been sort of toying with the idea for a while, and I was really inspired by my mom, who volunteered at the Pasadena Animal Shelter, and she ended up adopting like a lot of dogs. She never really fostered, she just went straight to the adoption. So, but I thought it would be really interesting and helpful to start fostering, and I started, a little over a year and a half ago with Mottville in San Francisco. They specialize in senior dogs, so that was my start.
So I think we were inspired to start because our daughters really wanted to have a dog. And I think we were ready because our cats had just passed away. It had been several months or more since maybe even a year since they were gone. And so I checked in with a friend of mine who I knew was involved with rescue and had rescued her dogs. And I asked her, what was the possibility of fostering dogs and who I should check in with. And she recommended that I talk to Rescue the Underdog.
Well, Mom, one day was just look at this, and she just showed me a picture of this scared little dog hiding in the back of a kennel, and I was like, Mom, what are we gonna do? She was like, we can foster it, and I was like, oh, okay. So that's kind of where it began, and then the sort of leader came to our house and dropped him off, and that's where we kind of started.
The challenges are you don't really know what you're going to get. Every dog is different. And so really learning to make the environment good for them and help them warm up to the situation and acclimate them. And sometimes it can be tough. Sometimes when you least expect it, a dog can show signs of aggression towards children or men or food aggression, or, there's different things that can come up that you just don't know is going to happen. And it's finding ways to work with that and not give up. I think you should really commit yourself to being a foster and try to work through those situations. There's so many resources out there, and most foster agencies or adoption agencies have those resources available.
In terms of they might have some challenges with being frightened, being scared of new situations, being scared of other dogs, being scared of other people. So you have to really be very patient. I think it's taught me, as far as challenges, that was a big challenge I had, was being patient, and it's really taught me how to be patient and how to be loving and understanding and have more empathy for all creatures.
The challenges that we were looking at were not having time to manage a potty training situation or manage behavioral issues. It really was the time with both of us working and our kids in school, just kind of being worried about the time being able to deal with that. So the challenges did come up, but we had a lot of support from our rescue group.
Well, the most important is love. I think love, you can overcome anything. But really what's most important also too is time and patience. So I know another question that might come up is what is the commitment time frame? And that can really vary depending on what type of fostering you're doing. But keep in mind that you just don't really know how long it could take for the dog to get adopted. And that really comes from the systemic issue in society that a lot of people think foster dogs are second class, or that they're not adoptable, or that they're all going to have extreme medical conditions, or just that they're not worthy. And so sometimes it can take longer than you would expect, even for a perfectly healthy, perfectly social dog to get adopted.
Be prepared for that. It's not always going to go perfectly. There's going to be bumps in the road. The animal, the dog or cat may not be on your schedule. Like, they're not just going to magically one day be perfect for you. It's going to take time. It's going to take an investment of time, an investment of your patience, and an investment, of your understanding. I think for every dog is different, and they're going to learn at their own pace.
So the commitment is, basically just giving a dog a quiet spot. That's really all they need in the beginning, especially when they come straight out of the shelter. We don't know anything about them, and it's, let them decompress. We commit to all of it. We like to advertise the dogs and, show their progress. We go from giving them a spot to crash to, taking care of them, advocating for them, if they need something, if they need to change, like, oh, this isn't a good house for them or something. We do it all.
Some fosters we've had that where they're not so good on a leash, and so you just have to take the time to introduce them to it slowly, not be like, oh, they're going to be perfect first thing out of the gate. They're going to be walking right at your side. They're not going to pull on the leash or be frightened. So typically when a new dog comes in, I hope they come with a crate. I have extra crates, so if we're in that situation where the dog is just oh, here's the dog. So I think that's a good start to keep them in their crate, just so that they have their own little private den. They can kind of get to know things on their own terms and get to know the smells and the sounds and the sights of your home, and then gradually introduce them to the other dogs. Make sure I go slowly, introduce them one step at a time, and it's never going to be a perfect situation. So I think it's just, some people immediately would freak out when something doesn't go according to plan, and I think you just have to be prepared for the unexpected to happen and just try and handle it calmly. I think that's been a really good lesson too, just learning to okay, this isn't going so well the first day, but let's just see it through. So I think that helps a lot.
We have a doggy door, we have a backyard, I have kids, we're outside a lot. So, sometimes, a lot of times when we get a new foster and we don't know anything about them, we'll hang out in the backyard for hours, just to give them that opportunity to smell and pee on everything. And then it's okay, good job. You did that out in the outside. Let's not do that in the house. Advocating and letting the next family know, hey, this is a really smart dog, and you're not going to have any problem training this dog, or advocating and this dog needs training and it should go to puppy classes. It's kind of just being their voice, all around, being their voice and doing what you can to help with the training, or being their voice and telling the next person of what they need.
I think that a lot of the misconceptions are that maybe even fosters are people that take in dogs with behavioral issues. And maybe some of them are, but to me, anyway, in my experiences, a lot of these dogs, according to the Rescue the Underdog, are just these amazing, sweet dogs that are not mean, don't have angry streaks, that they just have nowhere else to put them. Like you're saying, the shelters just don't have the resources of knowing where to put them. Getting an animal from a puppy mill, I think people just aren't really aware how detrimental that is, and how it just creates this cycle of organizations breeding more and more animals that cannot find, eventually not all of them are going to find homes. And I mean, do you really want a puppy? You have to go through all the stages of chewing and training and potty training, right? And I mean, even with with a foster, you might have to deal with some of that, but I mean, I don't think all of that, especially if it's an older animal, maybe a year or two old. You get an animal, like my dog had great manners. She would never even come to the table and take any food off the table. She'd wait for food to be given to her. I was like, where did you come from? You're amazing.
So as I said, fostering saves lives. I'm a super huge believer in that. And so while I have this platform, I really want to shed light on that and kind of debunk some misconceptions about fostering and the shelter animal community in general. So spay and neutering is super important. A lot of people really don't see the value in it, but if you went to a shelter on any given day and if you knew how many animals are really being euthanized without a cause just due to space constraints, time constraints, and resource constraints, you would think twice about shopping for a dog. So although I do appreciate and love breeder dogs, I just think right now we really need to understand how many dogs are out there that were brought to shelters without cause and died without cause. So it's really important to spay and neuter your animals. Do not breed. There are so many animals out there right now that need homes, and yeah, be aware of that and educate yourself and learn about it. A lot of people say, I would never go to a kill shelter, or I would never adopt an animal from a shelter that kills animals. And what you need to understand is that the people working in those shelters love animals. They're there for a reason. They don't want to euthanize those animals. Like I said, it's due to resource constraints and time constraints. And so actually, I think it's really important that we switch that conception and that we start supporting those shelters, raising awareness for them, providing them with resources, and adopting from them. As soon as the pandemic hit, I became extremely concerned for the shelter animals because everyone was going into shelter in place, and I didn't know how animals were going to fend for themselves if the staff wasn't able to come in and take care of them. So we immediately took in 2 dogs through Rescue the Underdog. And so actually he came from a home in Modesto where 7 dogs were taken by animal control because it was a hoarder's house. And so that's actually quite common that hoarders also hoard animals. And unfortunately, it's just really not a good situation for animals to be in. And we saw his little head in the cage and our hearts broke and we said yes. So, but we really had no idea what his injuries, what the extent of his injuries were, and also, you know, the level of socialization that he had. So it was really rough because he had 4 fractures on his left front leg and his left hind leg. And so walking for him was really hard and he was so scared. We weren't actually able to hold him for about 3-4 months. Over the last year, he's had to have several surgeries to correct his injuries, and he's also had to have his leg amputated. So now he is a tripod. But it's been an incredible journey, and right now we're really focusing on his socialization and getting him comfortable with new people. As you can see, he's cuddled up here on my lap. He loves me, and he's just a little mommy's boy. So it's been really rewarding getting to see him blossom. And some people might say, oh, why would you even put in so much effort for, you know, a dog? Like maybe he was too far gone. But I mean, if you had taken one look at him, I think your heart would break and you would think, gosh, isn't there something better? Can't we try to give him a second chance at life? You know, he was only 5 months old. And I think if it hadn't been for the trauma that he was put through, he wouldn't have been in that situation. So I think he really deserved to know what a good life felt like, what a stable life, what a happy life felt like. And, you know, when I see him running at the beach, and I see, you know, he's happy, I think he deserves life. And I think it's really important that I think for someone to say, oh, that dog doesn't deserve it or that dog does, I think all dogs do.
The foster prior to the one I just sent off was Tippy, and she was like that sort of a small like Chihuahua Terrier mix, and she came to us. She was very scared, like she would not come out of her crate, and she had a lot of medical issues. She had problems with her eyes. She had like cherry eye. She had like a big mass on her rear, and it was interfering with how she walked. And then just a whole host of issues that, like, she was 30 and not socialized. And so it was just basically like starting from scratch. I mean, getting her to trust, like, be okay coming out of the crate, getting her to be okay with eating, getting her socialized with the other dogs, getting her to be okay to go on walks, and then seeing, being there while she recovered from her getting her procedures done, to fix her medical issues, and then just seeing like how she was just such a happy little dog once all that stuff was out of the way, and she wasn't like carrying this big burden, like a physical burden and a psychological burden. It was just really, really great to see her blossom. You do form a bond. It's very true. Recently, just last week, I sent one of my longest fosters off to his forever home, and we had him for over 5.5 months. So definitely, like, he was part of the family. He loved the other dogs; they loved him. It was difficult because for the longest time there had been no one really interested in him. It was just sort of a weird thing. Like, he was a perfect dog, and it's like, no, there had been no interest, and then all of a sudden there was interest. It was like, oh wow, this is going to be very different when he's not here. And I think you have to just step back and say, okay, well, what's best for them? What's best? And also, you're making someone else really happy. I mean, someone else who maybe has never had a pet, or someone who lost a pet, and would like to start again. So I think it's just a matter of stepping back and saying, okay, this is not all about my comfort level, my happiness. It's really about putting the dog first, and also the prospective adoptive family, like saying, okay, well, this is going to make a huge difference in their lives. So, be okay with it. Be okay with saying goodbye.
I think that's the first thing I always hear when people ask me about fostering. They go, oh, I could never foster a dog. I could never let it go. And I think, for some that may be true, but you really have to remember that fostering saves lives. And the more people that foster, the more lives that we can save, and the more animals that can be taken out of kill shelter. So that you're really giving these dogs their last chance, their second chance at life. So you're able to provide them with that. And that if you keep the dog, you're most likely not going to be in a position to where you can offer that opportunity to more animals. The first day is really hard because you feel that empty space, but after a while it becomes normal, and you just move on. And it's really hard to explain that, but then that, hey, I'm ready for my next foster. And then the journey continues. Don't let the thought of not being able to let go stop you from fostering. See how it goes. If you end up really falling in love with a dog, that's not the end of the world. Then you've just found a forever friend. But just go with it. You'll see how it goes, and most likely you will be able to cope with letting the animal go.
It's hard at times. There's we've probably done this like 40 plus times
At least.
And there's probably a handful that I could cry about right now because they're not here. But it's just playing matchmaker. I mean, just the idea of, getting, like, right now we have a little dog. She's probably about 2 years old. She's probably got like 15 years left. And if I can help coordinate and find her a loving home for the next 15 years, and to provide a human, a family, with 15 years of unconditional love, like, that's so worth it. Sign me up. I want to find you that that match. Sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's hard, but ultimately we can't keep them all, and we want to keep doing this. So, it makes, once we go in thinking that, we want to do this all the time because it's such a great feeling of satisfaction of taking care of a dog, then it makes it easier.
Make sure that you really think about whether you have some time and whether you have the patience in your family, and if you have more than one person that can share some responsibilities, like walking the dog and playing with the dog. I know there are some older fosters that don't require a lot of playing time or walking time, and sometimes with their injuries they just like to sit in your lap, so that's not even an issue sometimes. So considering the type of dog and the time you can spend with it, and whether you want a dog that wants to play or a dog that's older that may not need as much playtime, and then contact a rescue service, I highly recommend Rescue the Underdog, but there's a ton of them out there. Rescue the Underdog, I think, specializes in smaller dogs, and then there's other rescue organizations that specialize in medium or larger dogs or all-size dogs. So kind of depends on what you want. But the organizations that rescue the dogs would be the great place to start with, and they usually have a great support staff who are willing to help you, and I just text them questions and they answer right away about what I should do, and it's so great to have that resource.
Do it. Try it. It's worth it. It's like you can we ask people to foster like at least 72 hours, like at least give it 3 days, just to see if it's going to work out. And you can have them decompress in a back room, maybe even in a crate. They might be, totally okay with being in a crate. It's a great opportunity to give it a shot. You saved a life the minute you let that dog crash on your couch or in your back room. And if it doesn't work out, we'll come get it. We'll move it. No problem, and we'll try again and, go from there. So, it's a win-win.
I had people ask me, okay, well, gee, I live in an apartment. I can never be a foster. It's like, well, you actually could. I know people who live in apartments. I know people who have, don't have a backyard, who don't have an outdoor space, and they are really good fosters. So I think it's a matter of there's going to be a dog for you out there, getting connected with one or more different rescues, seeing what they have available, signing up, like fill out the paperwork, talk to the people who work at the rescue, like see what their experience has been. And then don't be afraid to ask questions. It's just, I think some people are like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it all wrong. No matter what I do, it's not going right. No, it's like, be okay with reaching out for help. Be okay with that things are not going to always go perfectly. Be okay with cutting yourself some slack, and also be okay that not every dog is going to work for you. Not every dog is going to be perfect. And I think some people are like, okay, it didn't work this one time, so I'll never do it again. So, there has to be a mesh in terms of like personality between you and the dog, and it may not come out like immediately, but having patience and seeing them come out of their shell, I think is a really wonderful thing. I'd say, by and large, most of the rescue organizations, they're going to try and match you with a dog that is going to be okay for your situation. If you live in a small apartment, they're not going to give you a Great Dane. So they're going to find out what your living situation is, like how much time can you devote to the fostering, like who else is in the household who might be able to help out. And then like, just what's your lifestyle? Like, is it active? Is it sedentary? Are you looking for like a couch potato dog that just hangs out and watches, Netflix with you? Everyone starts from somewhere. So there's a lot of support out there, I think.
What we personally have done as a family is we have yard sales and we have lemonade stands. So we are involved with a lot of like, before COVID, it was a lot of boutiques and, events at the school where we would make our crafts and sell them. And we always donated it to Rescue the Underdog.
I think definitely you can give of your time. Right now, it's not so much a possibility with, the pandemic, but when there's events, there's always people needed to like volunteer at adoption events or to promote different rescues on social media, to like promote the dogs they have available for adoption. Obviously, if you have the means, monetary donations are always welcome. Even like as like easy a thing as like turning your Amazon smile charity to like one of the dog rescues. So like every time you shop on Amazon, it's going to send a small portion of your total to the rescue, and that's sort of like a no-brainer because you just turn that on, and then every time you buy from there, it's going to be sent. Maybe you have things that a rescue needs. Maybe you have like blankets or crates, or you can help collect those things from people in your community. I think there's always going to be options, if you don't have the time to devote as a foster, because admittedly it is a time commitment.
If you're not able to foster, it doesn't stop there. There's so many ways that you can get involved and you can support organizations that really need the help. So one would be volunteering. There's a lot of agencies that need people to transport dogs from medical appointments, being picked up from the shelters, brought to the fosters. If there's a facility, you can volunteer. You can help clean cages, do laundry, feed the animals, walk the animals, all those different things. Those volunteer opportunities are definitely out there, even with COVID. But also too, there's a lot of organizations that have a lot of different ways of raising money. So getting involved, even if you're able to donate your time and help those organizations come up with ideas to raise funds, putting flyers out at your local pet supply store, etc. But also too, just raising awareness for animal rescues. So it doesn't have to just be a one and done, like fostering or adopting. Like I said, there's so many ways you can get involved, and if you go online, you can find out a lot about it. So if you're a young student and you're not stable yet, it's probably not the best idea to foster or adopt. I think the biggest message I want to get across is to please not adopt animals if you're really not in a place to make a lifetime commitment to that pet. Do your research and see how you can get involved. Because all these organizations can definitely use your help in many ways.
After we took the trip to the high kill shelter, it was definitely scarring in a way, but it was also very beneficial because we learned what happens to the dogs when their time is up. So we want to rescue as many and get as many homes as possible.
Yeah, we did a rescue mission. So we drove out to Modesto and to their high kill shelter. And, we didn't know what to expect. We quickly realized that, there was a line that was forming before the place opened of people lining up to abandon their animals and just to leave them there. And, it could be the best dog in the whole world, because we actually have some of those dogs that are just the best dogs. But if you stick them in a cage, all bets are off. The dog turns psycho. The dog wants to bite you because it's afraid and it's feeling threatened being stuck in a cage. If we wouldn't have driven down there, those dogs would have died. And they were so good. They were such good dogs, but they were out of time and they definitely were deemed not adoptable. So just knowing that, we have to go back. We have to open up our door every time Kurt says he's got new ones coming in, or if we need to go do a rescue ourselves. It's worth it.
These animals are worth saving. A lot of times there's going to be a snap judgment made, like at a shelter. Okay, well, this animal has behavior problems, so we'll put it on the euthanasia list. So I think just being aware that that there are so many unwanted pets out there who need our help. And however you can help them in whatever capacity is definitely going to be a rewarding experience. And it's definitely been rewarding for me. And I never in a million years thought I would be able to handle that, the having a foster and then giving it away. And it's just it's just second nature. It's okay, I know when a dog comes in, oh, this would be a great dog for a family who lives in an apartment. This would be a great dog for a retiree, or this would be a great dog for someone who works from home. So it's just I'm immediately thinking of what's good for the pet instead of oh, I could never let this dog go. It's so cute. Yeah.
I just think it's such a great thing because we have such an overpopulation of animals, and it's so dogs and cats especially, and I just think it's so great that people are willing to bring them into their home, give them a place to live, even if it's temporary, so that they can be adopted out to a forever family. Because if we didn't have these programs, we'd have a lot of animals just getting put down every year, and we still have a ton of them that get put down every year. It's crazy, the numbers, and it's unfathomable for me to think about all these amazing animals that get put down. Ruby, my dog, she was going to be put down at Christmas time, and we rescued her a day before Christmas. And so I feel I felt so good that we could save her. And she turned out to be just this amazing, sweet dog. And I think in my mind, I thought, oh, they usually only put down the really mean dogs and dogs that have problems or diseases. But no, it's really sad. It's just any and all that they can't find homes for, get put down. So when we have these wonderful rescue organizations and fosters, people that are willing to foster the animals. It just makes such a huge difference, and we place so many animals in so many great homes.